So Elon Musk has been going off on Twitter. No, I'm not talking about that. And we are learning all kinds of new things that are coming to Autopilot really soon. So let's check them out. One of the biggest things that Elon mentioned on Twitter is pretty soon Tesla vehicles are going to be reading speed limit signs with their cameras. Now this seems pretty obvious when you have the car surrounded by cameras and it's seeing other things like cones and garbage cans. Why isn't it already doing this? Well, there was a lot of talk of Mobileye having a patent. If you didn't know, Mobileye actually helped Tesla develop Autopilot 1.0 and their sensors were used with that. Well, Mobileye has some patents on reading speed limit signs. A user on Reddit quickly pointed out that Mobileye's patent is very specific and a bit obsolete, and if Tesla was to read these speed limit signs in a different way than the patent mentions, which there are a bunch of ways to do it differently, then Tesla can read the speed limit signs and not have to worry about that patent. Now this is great news because currently Teslas use map data to know the speed limits, and on main roads that are traveled a lot or updated frequently, it does work fine most of the time, but I know for me I travel on a lot of back roads and the speed limits are wrong on honestly, I think 100% of all the back roads I travel regularly. I'm not exaggerating. I think every single road is wrong. Now, most of the time it's actually in my favor because the wrong speed limits are higher, so I can go a bit faster, and that's good with the flow of traffic around me. So I'm really excited for this one. I think initially probably won't be perfect like a lot of things we see with these software updates, but as time goes on, we know it gets better and better, and it's going to turn out to be way better than using map data. Now, this next one isn't about functionality, but I am so excited for this. Third Row Podcast asked Elon if we can have something next to the odometer to show how many miles were driven on autopilot. And not functional, but so cool. I have wanted to know this info for a really long time. If you drive a Tesla, you know most of your miles are on autopilot. Even if you're not doing a lot of highway driving, if you have a long stretch of straight road, you want to use autopilot. It's just better. It's just better most of the time. My normal driving to work, I drive 70 miles a day, 50 miles of that is on the highway, and 99.9% of that mileage is on autopilot every single day. But even the roads getting to the highway are straight enough with pretty much no turns where I'm using autopilot on all of those too. For me personally, I would guess my miles on autopilot has to be in the 90% range, probably greater than 90%. That's really what I think, especially since we've taken some really big road trips. Of course, almost all of road trip driving is going to be on autopilot. Let me know down in the comments what you think your percentage on autopilot will be once you get this update. And if you're enjoying this video, please hit like and get subscribed. So this next response from Elon, I think he misunderstood the tweet a little bit, but Tesla owners of Silicon Valley asked if they could get both percentage and miles of the battery life displayed in the car and in the app. So as of right now, in your car or your app, you can either see miles or percentage battery. You can't see both at the same time. While you're in the car, you can change between these while driving or at any time, but you have to kind of dig into the menus. And when you're using the mobile app, you can't change the setting at all. It's just whatever it's set to in the car, that's what you're stuck looking at. Well, I don't even care that it seems he misunderstood this because his response is way more exciting than just saying, oh, good idea, let's add this. He basically said he wants a details section in the app that will mirror every setting available on the car, and mentioned that then you could use your phone instead of the car screen to edit these settings. I mean, this is huge. There's a lot of stuff in the car settings that would be nice to change from your app while you're sitting at home. Maybe before you go out for a drive, you want to make sure you're not forgetting to change some settings. You just do them on the phone. But another cool thing is you could hand your phone to your passenger, or in my case, if my wife is driving with me, she's logged into the same app. She could be in the passenger seat or even in the back seat. She could control the entire car from her phone. I mean, man, if we could give some kind of guest connectivity to people in the car, they could connect to the car through Bluetooth, and then they could control their seat heaters in the back seat, maybe control their rear heating and cooling, turning that on and off. They can't adjust the temperature, but they can turn it on and off. This is a really exciting improvement. So another update on what's coming to autopilot soon. It looks like turning on city streets is going to be next. This is pretty crazy. I think this is going to be one of the hardest things for the car to handle. We've been talking about the Autopilot rewrite coming up. Elon mentioned this in a podcast with Third Row Tesla, that they're doing a full rewrite of Autopilot to really take advantage of that hardware 3. He hasn't really mentioned it much since, and everybody, including myself, whenever we see these kind of updates, we're like, oh my gosh, it's coming with the rewrite. The rewrite's going to be here soon. I'm excited for it. A lot of people are excited for it. But anyway, getting back to the tweet, he said that turning on city streets is next, which, you know, if you've ever tried to let your Tesla turn, it fails most of the time. I've had a few right turns and left turns through intersections, and when it works, it's really exciting, but most of the time, it's just not really equipped to do that. And then another thing that comes along with this, especially for our European friends, is roundabouts. The Tesla right now cannot do roundabouts. Actually, with the latest update, it knows it's going to an intersection. It can see that it's doing some kind of intersection, but it still usually gets confused. There are videos out there of a Tesla on autopilot going through a roundabout, but just like the right and left turns at intersections, intersections. They're mostly flukes. They're exciting when they happen, but they don't happen often, and they're not reliable. So Elon said that roundabouts are no problem. It's dodging all the other drivers. And this, kind of puts a lot into perspective for me. I've really wondered why Autopilot isn't doing roundabouts. It seems like a gradual, easy enough turn for it to do, besides the lane changing, which Autopilot currently can't do off of the highway. But it just struggles so much. And man, the car needing to stop at a yield sign, see if a car's coming, decide whether or not it's safe, decide whether or not the car is going to let you in or plow into you if it pulls out. I mean, that's a lot of decisions Autopilot is going to have to make. And same thing when it's coming up to stop signs, making turns. I think we're going to have this confirmation thing for a while where the car stops at the stop sign, but you have to hit the stalk or the accelerator to let it know, all right, it's safe, go ahead and drive through here. But once you let the car know, it'll make the turn because you kind of confirmed nobody's going to run into us. Go ahead and take this intersection. If you're new to the channel and didn't know, I have a gigantic hungry baby that I have to feed. So this video is sponsored by the Model 3 Part Shop. You can use the code DirtyTesla to get 15% off anything on their entire website. The link is in the description. Now, one response from Elon that was a bit of a bummer. He was asked about bringing up the side repeater cameras when the turn signal is turned on. And he said, this is harder than you think, but he's going to check with the team. This is kind of a weird response. From my memory, he doesn't normally respond in that way. He usually either says yes, or I've seen him say, it doesn't make sense for us to do that. So I guess for some reason this is harder than people think. Maybe it has to do with blocking information on the screen or something like that. Also, I could swear he had responded to somebody earlier that asked for this, and he said something along the lines of, we'll do it or we'll look into it. But I'm not sure this feature is coming, and I know it's something that a lot of people are asking for. I think part of the reason is if these cars really become full self-driving, there's really no point in this feature. You don't need to look at the screen or see the blind spot if the car's doing everything. I mean, even at this point, yes, you are in full control of the car. You should not be changing lanes without looking. But if you're on autopilot on the highway, or even not on the highway, and you hit the turn signal to change lanes and a car is there, the Tesla will not do it. The car is displayed on the screen, it's shown in red, the Tesla will just leave the blinker on until that car is out of the way, and then it will change lanes. If the car never gets out of the way, the Tesla just won't change lanes. So even now, if you're using autopilot or auto lane changes, the car's not going to do it if a car's there. You don't really need that display. Now, of course, if you're driving the car, it would be nice to have it. But with the safety features, you do have the red car on your screen, which not everybody, thinks is that good or notices it that well. But the car will beep at you if you're going to change lanes into somebody. And in an extreme scenario where you ignore all that and you go to drive into somebody and change lanes into them, a lot of times the Tesla can actually correct you and try to help you avoid that accident. So these are a lot of exciting updates we got all in one day. Usually these things come out over days or weeks where he's just responding to people here and there. But I'm so excited for these. Let me know down in the comments what you're most excited for. I look forward to talking to you down there, and you will see me in the next video. Well, a user on Reddit pointed out that Mobileye's patent is actually really specific, and as long as Tesla does things in a slightly different way, a user on Reddit quickly pointed out, but it just struggles so much. I mean, even at this point, yes,